Hi, I'm Rob Blake. I'm an audio lead here at BioWare, working on the Mass Effect franchise. I'm going to show you some of the processes that we went through for the Legion character from ME2, who may or may not be returning. When we get to the processing stage, a lot of the lines have already been written and the character's been fleshed out. So I'll work with the writers to find out what the actual what the feel of each character should be and how that should affect the processing. And the VO director will obviously work with them and with myself as well. And we'll all trying to steer this character towards a certain feel. There will be certain changes in ME3 related to Legion and various events that have happened. And so we will be modifying stuff based around that.
We do not intend physical harm to the creators at this time.
This is the original Geth noise that we had used on ME1. So it's a bunch of crazy, clicky, sort of granular type noises, and we had this difficult challenge of, how are we going to turn that into something that speaks, that you can hear it, because it's just crazy noise. And so I tried originally sort of morphing this with a synthetic voice.
One of my functions is to analyze all Cerberus personnel files to detect error.
Yeah, I thought that sounded okay, but I didn't really know what it was going to sound like when we put it through actual VO. So we got a test file recorded.
One of my functions is to analyze all Cerberus personnel files.
And I tried the same process for that and morphing it in with the original Geth noises to see what would come out the other side.
One of my functions is to analyze all Cerberus personnel files to detect.
It kind of sounds a bit mushy, do you know what I mean? It sort of loses a lot of its clicky character and some of the interesting intonations that you get from that kind of original Geth noise. So I went through a whole bunch of other processing, and we do this with all our characters. So we have this long process of changing all these different sounds and trying out different effects and stuff to try and come up with something that sounds really cool. So I went through a whole bunch of different effects, like
one of my functions is to analyze
the old classic flat vocoder. It sounds really robotic. But the problem that we had there is that I was talking to Casey about this, and he was very adamant that he wanted it to retain a sort of humanity kind of aspect to it. It would sound like it was still portraying emotion and a lot of character. So that was a little bit too flat. So I was trying out some other stuff to try and retain the original intonations from the original VO file. For example,
one of my functions is to analyze all Cerberus personnel files to detect.
That's a frequency shifter where it non-linearly kind of adapts the frequency of what someone's saying.
One of my functions is to analyze all Cerberus personnel files.
And that's just a more standard vocoder that's tracking the original pitch of what someone's saying, and then it's modifying a synth file that it's sort of morphing in with it kind of thing. And you can hear it starting to get a little bit more like Legion. What I liked about that one specifically was that it did retain the acting, if you will, like the intonation of the voice, and that's a large part of what we were trying to capture. However, as you can hear, it doesn't sound like the Geth noises.
One of my functions is to analyze.
As opposed to the original Geth noises. It doesn't have any of that clicky character, It was close, but didn't quite get there, and we ended up with...
One of my functions is to analyze all Cerberus personnel files.
Which has the clickiness, but also has the sort of intonation still.
Impossible suggests she never succeeds. Perhaps she would appreciate our cause. It is merely improbable.
And this is some of the VO here. This is the final processed version that we're using for ME3.
This area houses data pertaining to the initial Geth creator conflict.
Anyway, I probably shouldn't play too much because it might have spoilers in it. But so that's the sort of process that we go through with a lot of our VO stuff. It's a long, arduous process of lots of messing around with different types of VO and stuff. And often with such a large universe, we're trying to not just make something that sounds cool, but make something that fits within the universe of Mass Effect, which is this really big, broad, and complicated animal. And it's quite a lot of fun to work with.